Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Adamoose, and today in this series called In Depth, I'm going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about Evelynn Jungle.
Whose life shall I ruin today?
Eve is a stealthy assassin that completely warps the rules of the game with her permanent camouflage, and can be extremely frustrating to deal with when piloted by an experienced player. If you enjoy the content, it really helps me out if you could leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to help your boy out with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to talk with me and other members in the community who are looking to improve, be sure to join the Discord link that's in the description. I hope you guys can learn something. Enjoy the video. Evelynn's passive is called Demon Shade. Passively, Eve gains Demon Shade after not performing actions that break stealth for 4 seconds. Taking damage from enemy champions or turrets ends Demon Shade immediately and puts it on a 1.5 second cooldown. Now for Demon Shade, while below a certain HP threshold based on level, Evelynn heals herself every second. From level 6 onward, Demon Shade also grants Camouflage. This is the core of Evelynn's kit, giving her great out of combat sustain and permanent camouflage post level 6. This stealth is extremely powerful, especially in the hands of an experienced Eve player. You can sneak up for unsuspected ganks, find flank angles in creative locations, and even use yourself to get vision for your team. We'll discuss different use cases for this in the jungling section. Just know that using this optimally is by far the most important factor to succeed on Eve. Evelynn's Q is called Hate Spike. Eve launches a dart in the target direction, dealing magic damage to the first enemy hit and marking them for 4 seconds. Evelynn's next 3 basic attacks or abilities against the marked target then deal bonus magic damage. Hate Spike can be recast up to 3 times at no cost until the ability comes off cooldown. When recast, Eve unleashes a line of deadly spikes in the direction of her attack target, and if they're in range, dealing magic damage to all enemies struck. Hate Spike prioritizes her attack target, and then the nearest visible enemy champion. This is Eve's main DPS spell that also deals AoE damage, which is her go-to clearing tool. Although simple, your positioning while recasting Hate Spike can allow you to strike multiple enemies, increasing damage drastically. You can also Q Flash, catching out unsuspected enemies by buffering the cast time. Evelynn's W is called Allure. Eve curses the target enemy champion or monster for 5 seconds. Evelynn's next basic attack or ability against a cursed target will expunge them, slowing them by 65% for 0.75 seconds. Expunging a target will refund Allure's mana cost. If the target is cursed for at least 2.5 seconds, this also charms them for a few seconds, and the duration of the slow is increased to last this time. Against champions, the expunge also reduces their magic resist for 4 seconds. Against monsters, the expunge deals bonus magic damage, and the charm lasts 2 seconds longer. In addition, casting Allure while in Demon Shade does not break your stealth, allowing you to keep your location hidden while preparing an assassination. This is Eve's only utility tool, which is mainly used to lock down vulnerable targets. The main thing to note is that enemies are notified when Allure is casted on them, so choosing the right time to start your curse will make a big difference. You can also play the mind game of full charging W for the charm and magic pen, or quickly proccing it simply for the slow. This depends on what is more optimal for the current situation. Evelynn's E is called Whiplash. Evelynn whips a target enemy with her lashers, dealing magic damage, gaining 30% bonus movement speed for 2 seconds, and applying on-hit effects. Gaining Demon Shade resets Whiplash's cooldown and empowers its next cast. When casting Empowered Whiplash, Eve dashes toward the target enemy, dealing increased damage to them, as well as all enemies within her path. This is a simple damage spell that can actually be very tricky to use to its maximum potential. More importantly, Eve's Empowered E is a gap closer, which allows her to get on top of her target and will follow them through movement abilities. Evelynn's ultimate is called Last Caress. Eve becomes untargetable as she reveals her true form to all enemies in front of her in the target direction. She then blinks 700 units in the opposite direction and becomes targetable again. Enemies caught in her reveal are devastated, taking massive magic damage. Enemies below 30% of their max health are marked, indicating that they will receive 140% bonus damage. This is the ultimate assassination tool that allows Eve to execute low health enemies and escape in the process. This has multiple uses since the blink can be used as an escape, an engage when used backwards, or to simply burst enemies caught in the damage range. Keep in mind that this has a big cooldown in the early game, so saving it for the right moments is going to be crucial. You can also buffer Last Caress during your in-powered Whiplash, meaning you can gap close in and quickly execute your target. For ability maxing, Evelynn maxes Q first, E second, and W third in all situations. For skill order, Q level 1, E level 2, and either W level 3 when looking to make plays early, or a second point into Q at level 3 for the full clear route that we'll discuss later on. Now let's jump right into Evelynn's best runes for Season 12. For Keystones, Eve has 3 main options. Electrocute, First Strike, and Dark Harvest are all strong options in their own right, which amplify her burst potential. Electrocute is the most consistent burst option, while First Strike provides great damage and an added gold income bonus. Dark Harvest is an option mainly used in lower elos since you can rack up plenty of stacks. With that being said, it's much less consistent and not recommended over the other 2 in most cases. If you're running either Electrocute or Dark Harvest in the Domination tree, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and either Relentless or Ultimate Hunter are going to be the standard choices. For secondaries, Sorcery with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm is a great option for extra damage, while Inspiration with Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight is a strong choice for extra utility. Next is the Inspiration setup with First Strike. Magical Footwear, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight are going to be your go-to options which speed up your build and allow for some very quick power spikes. For secondary, Domination with Sudden Impact and Ultimate Hunter is a great page for lowered ult CD, while Sorcery with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm is used for pure burst damage as mentioned earlier. For rune shards, Eve's best setup is double adaptive damage and either armor or magic resist depending on your jungle matchup and the enemy team comp. Now that we've got Evelynn's best rune pages down, let's go over her strongest item builds. For starters, Eve usually prefers running Blue Smite for the utility and assassination power, but Red Smite can also be viable into bruiser heavy melee teams for better dueling. Dark Seal is a phenomenal early buy as well if you have a spare 350 gold, since it gives you so much snowball potential for a low price. For boots, Evelynn pretty much always runs Sorcerer's Shoes since they provide much needed magic pen for burst. In rare cases where the enemy team is full AD or has tons of CC, plated steel caps and merc treads can also be viable, although not really recommended. Now for mythics, Hextech Rocket Belt is by far Eve's best option. The magic pen passive and the extra gap closer are perfectly suited to her playstyle. Although I recommend Rocket Belt in 99% of games, Everfrost can also work for extra utility into melee teams, and Crown of the Shattered Queen can be used to counter multiple assassins. For core items, Shadow Flame, Void Staff, Banshee's Veil, Rabadon's Death Cap, Zonya's, and Lichbane are going to be your main choices. Shadow Flame for extra burst against shields, Void Staff into heavy MR, Rabadon's for massive damage when fed, Banshees to dodge key abilities into magic damage, Zonya's for a defensive tool into AD, and Lichbane for pure burst. Since Eve's build is pretty straightforward, the main thing to think about is which items are best for your current game state. Your goal is to be able to delete the enemy squishies, while also getting some defensive stats to allow for safe engages. Learning the best items comes with time, but is one of the easier feats when mastering Eve. Now let's hop right into Eve's general jungle strategy and pathing. First is to make sure you're kiting your camps properly and using your Q's AoE damage to deal maximum DPS. This will take some time to learn, so practicing how to optimally line up your camps while you're clearing will make a huge difference. Next is to remember that your E grants bonus movement speed. This can be used in fights to reposition or to get from camp to camp faster. The speed boost is something that a lot of players overlook, but can be a big difference maker when finishing off a camp to move quicker in your clearing sequence. Besides clearing, learning the different use cases of Eve's camouflage is going to be the single most important thing to be aware of. Although it's mainly used to pull off ganks and assassinations, you can also use it to sneak into lane bushes, find flank angles in the enemy jungle, or even to simply use yourself as a ward, spotting out enemies transitioning from lane to lane. Just be careful of walking past control wards so you're not the one that's being surprised. Eve's ultimate is also a fantastic objective stealing tool, which can be used to secure objectives and get out. This will give your team the edge in those 50-50 close scenarios. Although Eve seems like a brainless assassin, being a good Evelynn requires quite strong macro knowledge. You'll need to constantly be assessing the game and enemies' positioning to find those small angles that you can take advantage of. Now for actual jungle routes, Eve's pathing options are pretty straightforward. First and most consistent is the full clear route. This simply means starting on one buff and fully clearing towards your desired side of the map. The only thing to note is that when full clearing, putting a second point into Q at level 3 is the most efficient skill order. If you're going against a scary early game jungler such as Xin Zhao or Lee Sin, doing a reverse full clear is another option that can help you avoid getting invaded. This means starting on one side of the map and going directly to your next buff, then clearing back down to where you initially started. This will trick enemies, since if they know where you started, they can invade you, but in reality you will be pathing in the opposite direction. Although Eve is weak early and usually likes to full clear to maximize XP, the 3, 4, or 5 camp clears are all viable if you see opportunities for ganks. When doing these paths, putting a point into W at level 3 is crucial, since it's much more likely that you're going to get into combat. Since there are many variations of these clears, I won't go over all of them here. Just keep in mind that understanding your current jungle matchup and lane states will be your biggest tell when trying to decide on which path is best for each situation. Eve's biggest weakness is definitely the fact that she struggles in the early game, especially pre-level 6. Since her kit is so reliant on her camouflage passive and her extremely powerful ult, Eve is a sitting duck to be punished by strong early game junglers. This is why Evelynn has a hard time dealing with champions such as Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Xin Zhao, and Jarvan, since they all thrive on making early plays happen and invading before Eve has the time to power spike. To build on this, Eve can also struggle into teams with heavy crowd control and lockdown, since she's very squishy. Champions such as Nunu, Sejuani, and Fiddlesticks are all very hard matchups, since any mistake can leave you stun locked and bursted in a fight. Next is that although Eve is not too hard mechanically, learning her playstyle can be a bit difficult since it's so unique. This can definitely be a weakness for newer players, since making use of her camouflage and her assassin playstyle is actually quite tricky and comes with some experience. Last is that Eve is very punishing when it comes to making mistakes. She's short-ranged, has a weak early game, has an extremely long ult CD, and is very squishy. This means that any positioning mistake can mean instant death, which is the main difference between a Master Eve player and a new one. And finally, let's discuss what makes Evelynn such a nightmare to deal with in the jungle. First and most important is her camouflage passive. This is not only extremely tilting to play against, but also has very high skill expression. Having permanent stealth allows Eve to bend the usual rules of the game, forcing enemies to always think twice before pushing up in lane or when walking alone on the map. This also gives Eve the inherent mind game advantage, since enemies will need to constantly take risks and can easily get punished with bad positioning. Next is how Eve thrives at playing against squishy champions or junglers who take time to scale up. Examples are Lilia, Karthus, and Talia, who can all get instantly deleted post level 6 and do not usually influence the map much before then. To build on this, Eve has ridiculous burst damage and is one of the best 1v9 carry junglers in the entire game. A fed Evelynn makes the game completely unplayable since she'll roam the map from lane to lane invisible, deleting all of your laners on cooldown. This is even more exaggerated since her scaling is actually very good, so getting any sort of lead early on will snowball out of control. Evelynn is a powerful AP carry jungler who thrives at making creative plays in stealth to delete enemies. If you're looking for a scaling assassin pick to add to your champion pool and to start solo carrying games on, Eve is definitely the pick for you. That will do it for my Season 12 in-depth guide on Evelynn Jungle. If you want to support my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep up with my weekly uploads. Most people who watch are not subbed, and your support really helps my channel grow. I'm also giving away free coaching sessions every month to members of the Discord, so be sure to click the link in the description if you're interested. If you're looking to expand your champion pool, make sure to check out all my other Season 12 guides as well. With that being said, thanks again for watching. Until the next video, peace out.